Hello, my dear student. I hope you are doing well. Today lectures about selecting references and compiling a bibliography. In the previous lectures, we talked about how to select a research topic. Then we dealt with gathering data. Today we are going to deal with compiling bibliography. And we mean by bibliography the list of the resources that we read to collect the data for our topic. For example, I read about my topic in a magazine. I am going to insert this magazine in my bibliography. I read about my topic in a journal. I am going to insert this journal also into bibliography. I read it in an article, or I heard some information in a video, and so on. All these sources represent bibliography, from where I collect my information or my idea. The list of the sources, we name it as bibliography. So, as you begin locating sources, consider these points. It means when you are going to set your bibliography list, you have to take in consideration the following items, which they are: number of sources. Each research topic has a limit of sources. For example, for a report, at least maybe 7 to 5 sources. So we have to take care of this number. Number 2, variety of sources. My sources should not be modified with one type. For example, I shouldn't take all my information from books. I have to take them from books, magazine, articles, and so on. Up-to-date sources. My sources should be up-to-date. It means written recently. For example, if I have a topic and I need to talk about it, and I have two sources, one of them 2020, printed in 2020, and the other one printed in 1960. For sure, I'm going to select the 2020 printed sources because this source is up-to-date source and contains a recent information, more recent than the 1961. Also, for the student who are going to write their graduate research, they have to read in journals about their field. For example, if you are going to be an English language teacher, you have to keep in touch with the journals of ELT. ELT means English language teaching. For the it means to keep in touch with the research and information about your field, to take information from those sources. Whenever you find a resource, try to look for the bibliography of this source itself, because also it has which leads you to other sources. And at last, the availability of sources. The availability of sources may determine whether or not the topic is responsible. It may be necessary to change or refine the topic if you cannot locate enough appropriate reference. That means in the step of setting a bibliography and your search about resources for your topic, the information or the availability of sources will reset the outline or the your decision about you are going to go in deep with this topic or to to change it or to reset a new outline or to modify or to omit something and so on. So you have to take the obvious points into consideration when you are setting your own bibliography. Now I collect many sources for my research. I identify the sources that I am going to demand in my research. So how I am going to evaluate these sources and judge whether they are useful for my research or not. There are also many techniques. The most important of them, number one, consulting. I have to consult my instructor or my supervisor. I have to show him or her my resources so he can advise me whether they are good or suitable for my research or not. The second one, the printed date. As we mentioned, they have to be up to date. They have to be recently printed. Okay, so this is the second point. The third point, it's preferable to use journals rather than magazines, and specifically your discipline journal. As we mentioned, you are an English language teacher. You have to depend on ELT journals. Okay. Also, we have to demand scholarly books rather than trade books and encyclopedia. For example, if I am going to let us say define, for example, English in English language teaching in my research, the definition I have to take it from scholarly books. Scholarly books, it means someone who wrote about this term in my discipline or in my field, not the definition I am going to take it from Wikipedia or from a trendy book or trendy magazine. No, this is not suitable, and I have to take it from scholarly books. Okay. Number 5, reading about the author. I have to know some information about the author. Is he good? Is he right objectively? And so on. Number 6, conducting a statistician research. Statistician research. It means, for example, if I have a research about EFL students in Iraq, at least I have to mention the percentage of their numbers, okay? Or I have to mention the percentage of the female to male and so on. So I have to have a look on the statistician's information, okay? Also, I have to examine the book review, which it means I have to look for an essay and articles about the book itself. I have to read about the opinions of other about this book. So I am going to judge about my sources about these points. Whenever you are setting a bibliography list or you are looking for sources for your research, you are going to omit sources and adding another sources. So you are need to continually evaluation for the materials you are demand with the regards to which aspects, to the following aspects, which they are objectivity. Your research should be objective. Don't follow the sources that are biased to one opinion. For example, if we have a research about a grammar translation method, I'm going to take a resource talk about a grammar translation method in general. It talks about its advantages and its disadvantages. Okay, I'm not going to mention only the source who mention grammar translation method disadvantages. This will be bias and I want an objective sources. Number two, author's qualification, which that means the author of this topic should be um, qualified to write about it. Is he a doctor? Is he a student? And so on. So if he is a student, I'm not going to mention this in my research. I'm going to mention the doctor or the professor opinion, okay, because he is qualified to write about it. Also, the publication date, we mentioned it previously. It has to be up to date as much as possible, or recently printed books. Also, I have to take in consideration the aspect of level, and that means if I write for the students, I have to consider the books that are written for students. I'm not going to write from books are written for university instructors or for PhD scholars. No, I'm going to write it for the students and the vice versa. If I am going to write a research for university instructors, I have to demand or follow references that written for the university instructors and so on. Let us say now we have a good list for my bibliography. Now I am going to decide whether I'm going to read all of these resources from the sleeve to sleeve, or I'm going to read selectively reading. I'm going to do selectively reading. So how I am going to evaluate the article I'm going to insert in my bibliography. First of all, I'm going to look to the title. The title should be relevant to my topic. For example, if I write a topic about a grammar translation method, the title should mention grammar translation method. I'm not going to insert a paper or an article, its title about direct method. No, I'm going to choose an article with grammar translation method. Also, I'm going to read the abstract. It will give me a brief idea about what the researcher did in his article or what he is going to mention in his article. So it will give me a good idea whether I'm going to read it, go for in reading or not. Also, I have to read the opening paragraph, which it means the introduction, and the closing paragraph, which it means the conclusion. And sometimes I am going to demand some information from the opening or from closing paragraph, and I don't need to read the body of this article, or I don't need to read it at all. In the previous slide, we talked about how we are going to decide whether we are read the whole article or not. In this slide, we are going to mention how we read the book. Also, in addition to the previous items, we have to take a look at the table of the contents. The table of the contents will give you a brief idea whether this book relevant to your topic or not. The preface of the introduction, which it also gives you the idea about what the writer are going to mention or discuss, and the index. The index means the list of authors and keywords are written in the books. Okay, for example, if you open a book and you look in the index and you want to write about grammar translation method and you open the index, you will find the pages that are mentioned the word grammar translation method, and this will help you a lot to read selectively, not to waste your time in reading the whole book. And please, if you have any question or a comment, please mention it in the comment, and the link of the text lecture are in the description box. Thank you for your time, thank you for your listening, and have a good day.